First up is Anafenza, Unyielding Lineage. This is a 3-mana, 2/2 legendary creature spirit soldier that has flash, first strike, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Anafenza endures 2. Endures is a new mechanic, so you endure N, in this case it's 2, and you either put N+1/+1 counters on it, or you create a white spirit creature token with power and toughness equal to N. So I think this is a really cool mono-white Aristocrats commander. It is still really good in like the 99 of decks, but I would actually want to build this as a commander. I don't know if I actually really want to build it. No, I do. I think this is a wanna build for me. You can build it in like a few different ways, right? So you can either build it maybe as like a mono-white artifacts deck because it's really easy to sacrifice artifacts, or it's just a mono-white token deck where you're sacrificing white creatures that make tokens when they die, and then using white's cheap reanimation effects like Sun Titan. I mean cheap, I mean recurring small creatures. So Abiding Grace, Sun Titan, Savine's Reclamation, and then bringing those creatures back and then sacrificing them again to make more tokens. These are like a really, really cool commander. I like its mono white, and it's also just good in the 99 of like token decks, aristocrat decks, soldier decks, spirit decks. And I think it has a lot of play in a lot of different places. Next up is Betor, Ancestor's Voice. It's a 5-mana legendary creature spirit dragon. It's a 3/5. It has flying and lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, put a number of +1/+1 counters on up to one other target creature you control, equal to the amount of life you gained this turn. Return up to one target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you lost this turn from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if you're newer to Magic, let's say you lose 10 life, but then you gain 10 life on that same turn, you still lost 10 and gained 10. It doesn't check like your life total at the end of the turn, but whether or not you gained or actually lost that life. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. And the other thing is if you exchange life totals, so there's a card in this precon, Tree of Redemption, where you can tap it and exchange your life total with the creature's toughness, with the tree's toughness. So if you go from 40 to 13, you've lost 27 life. So if you have a way of untapping the tree and doing it again, you will have gained 27 and lost 27 life, assuming you're at 40. That being said, I do think this is a really cool commander, and I'm going to put this card solidly in fun. I don't know if I want to build it, but if seeing this across from me at the table, I think would be like a pretty cool experience. There are a lot of really crazy things you can do with it, and I definitely want this precon. It seems fun. Next up is Betor, Kin to All. It's a 5-mana, 5/7 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying. At the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 20 or greater. Next up is Betor, Kin to All. It's a 5-mana, 5/7 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying. At the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then if creatures you control have toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life rounded up. So if you have 30 toughness, you get 2 triggers. You get the 10 and the 20. So it's not one or the other because it has the then trigger. Also, with certain cards, you can, like Wound Reflection, you can just one-shot the entire table because they would lose half their life, and then Wound Reflections would trigger. Because of how those triggers resolve, like the life loss ones like that, they check as the resolve, not as they're put onto the stack. That being said, I think this is I'm going to put this, I want to say, I think it could be fun, or is it fun? I'm going to put it in fun. I think this would be a fun commander. There are definitely some shenanigans you can do with it, but I think it'd be a fun commander. Next up is Alesha, Threefold Master. This is a 3-mana, 1/1 legendary creature Jin Monk with Trample, Prowess, and whenever Alesha deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with Prowess. So I love cards like this, but I prefer them in the 99 personally. However, I think this commander could be fun. Now, I'm not a huge fan of when I have to deal commander damage with my commanders as a requisite for them to do their thing. I think there's a stigma with it that, like, if you were hitting someone and, 21 commander damage, I think they're more likely to remove this if you're getting in for like 3 or 4 damage here and there, versus if it's just a creature where you can kind of get more benefit from the 1/1s. That being said, this does make a really cool like one-shot commander potentially. My only fear would be that you knock out one player and then you're immediately removed from the game. So I'm not a huge fan of commanders with that playstyle. So I'm going to put this in the could be fun category. I think depending on how you build it and depending on like what you're doing, it could be a fun commander. But I personally am not a huge fan of when I have to deal combat damage with my commanders. Next up is Tarkir Dragonclaw. It's a 4-mana, 4/4 legendary creature human warrior with Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card and then put 2 +1/+1 counters on this commander. So you have to cast spells before combat, but it does have Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 1, which are pretty good like combat stats. Ward 1 isn't super great, but it's better than nothing. Like it makes some removal just a little less efficient, but you have to cast stuff before combat. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I guess you can cast them at the beginning of combat, but when this is on the stack, I don't know when it checks to see if it was like, if it goes on the stack. I have a feeling you have to do it before combat, actually. I think this is a card, at first glance, I think it's going to be fun in the 99, but I don't know if it would be fun as a commander. I think I'd play this in like a team or creature deck or like a Nagila like warriors deck. I think this could be really good where if you're playing a warrior and a removal spell on before combat, then you're having this, you get to draw a card, put counters on it. Vigilance and Trample are really good with the +1/+1 counters, but I don't know if I'd want to play this as a commander. I think it's just a good role player in a deck. Next up is Eshki Teemer's Roar. It's a 3-mana 2/2 legendary creature human warrior. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ishkai. Ishkai. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Ishkai deals damage equal to their power to each opponent. So this is actually pretty cool. So if you cast a creature spell that is 5, you get the first and second one. Again, like the first, one of the first commanders we talked about. If you do all 3 of them, you get all 3. If you do only the first one, you get the first one. So I like that you can scale this up. It like scales really nicely. Casting if a spell's power is 6 or greater, you're in Teamer. That's not that hard to do. You can even put in like inefficient, like really efficient creatures with high stats that have some form of downside. If you just want to get the benefit of this, I'm thinking like Phyrexian Dreadnought. It's like a 1-mana 12/12. I think it's really expensive, but I think there's a cheaper like reprint kind of it. So you would cast it and it would deal 12 damage to each opponent, and then you draw a card and you put a counter on this card. So I think that's really cool. I think this is a fun commander. I'm not going to rush out and build them, but I think it's, if you want to build like a creature deck, I think this is a solid creature commander that isn't just like Animar. If you want to build like Teamer good stuff or Teamer creature pile, or if there's like a creature type, like this is in the Dragons precon. But if you wanted to build a Teamer humans or Teamer warrior deck, I think this is also just a great option because the commander is just a value engine that shares a type or just does something. So even if you don't have your commander out, it's still, your commander's not like essential to the deck, right? Which is sometimes something you might want to do, where you just have like, hey, it's a value card, that's okay. Next up is Felthar the Steadfast. It's a 4-mana 0/5 legendary creature human warrior. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender. And you can pay 3, tap, sacrifice another creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness, then discard cards equal to its power. So this is the Abzan precon commander. This is definitely on my wanna build list. I actually want this precon. And I'm hoping I can get it. I love a Defenders Matters deck, and I'm glad we have another option that is better than Doran. I think this is still, I think they're close. I like that this has some form of card advantage on it, and it's instant speed, which means we can do it on our opponent's end step. If we have Seedborn Muse, which actually comes in this precon, you can do it on each person's turn if you have enough mana dorks. So you can draw a lot of cards with this. I think it's really cool. I like having another defender commander that isn't just Ramos or Doran, which feels not Ramos. Arcades. I feel like we've had 2 defender commanders, like those 2 is like the primary ones for a while. We have the mono green one, of course, but I like having Abzan because you can put in Tree of Perdition, and this precon comes with Tree of Redemption. So yeah, I really like this. Next up is Felthar, Dawn of the Abzan. A 3-mana 3/3 legendary creature human warrior with trample. Whenever they enter or attack, you may sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. It's a 3-mana Abzan sacrifice commander. That's like not bad. I like this. I think it's fun. I don't think it's... I'm not like gonna rush out and build this commander, but I definitely think it is a fun commander. It's Abzan sacrifice that you have to kind of work for, and then you also get to grow your creatures, and it doesn't have to be a creature you're sacrificing. You can sacrifice treasure tokens, you can sacrifice clues, blood, like you can make... If you can sacrifice other things to get counters other than just creatures. So your Ichor Wellsprings, if you're building like an Abzan artifact modular deck. I mean, it's probably a little like too niche, but it's something you could do. Yeah, I think it's cool. Next up is Kodis Sibsing Champion. It's a 3-mana 3/3 legendary creature zombie warrior. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. So this essentially gives your creatures 1 creature a turn escape for 3. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control enter, if 1 or more of them entered from your graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put 2 counters on Kodis. I am not a huge fan of this commander, so I get what it's going for, but as a commander, there are no keywords on it to really take advantage of those counters. You're not putting those counters on the creature you're bringing back. So if you're bringing back a Gravecrawler, it's not getting any bigger, it's just doing a thing. And you can grow your commander, but you need to have ways of giving it evasion. Of course, you can with the creatures that care about having like modified creatures or +1/+1 counters on creatures. But I think this is a card that is solidly fun in the 99. I think this is a great role player, but I'm not that interested in having this at the helm just because the lack of keywords on it. You know, if it had lifelink, where you're just like, oh cool, it grows and I can gain some life. Or if it said when it deals combat damage, or when it deals combat damage to a creature or player, you know, something else. But there's no incentive to grow this other than just growing it and being able to escape creatures. But it's only 1 creature. So yeah, it's gonna go into fun in the 99 for me. Next up is Kodis the Fangkeeper. It's a 4-mana 2/1 zombie warrior with indestructible. Whenever they deal combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So again, this is another commander, kind of like Elsha, that you need to deal combat damage to a player in order to get its effect. And you really want to like hit them for a lot with this, right? Because it's basically a villainous wealth. You have to cast the spells. You don't get to like play lands. And you also need to make sure you're hitting enough to be able to cast pretty much whatever you're hitting, right? Because let's say you exile 2 and you exile a Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time, you can't cast them because their mana value has to be X or less. It does have indestructible, which is really good. But I also like that it's a warrior and a zombie. But I think this card is going to be another one that's really good in the 99 of like... I'm going to put it like this, I think. Really good in the 99 of a Najeela deck, right? Like a warrior deck. Or if you're building Sultai zombies, which there's a commander I'm working on a deck tech for. I think it could be really good in those types of decks where you're able to kind of pump this up and hit someone for 9. But I don't think I'd want this as a commander. It is indestructible though, so that's cool. Next up is Narset Jeskai Waymaster. It's a 3-mana 3/4 legendary creature human monk. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. That's a pretty powerful effect. I mean, you have to be casting enough spells, so if you end up dumping your hand, assuming you're not playing any lands, you do just get to fill your hand back up. I think this could be a pretty powerful effect. It is cast, and it's not cast from hand. That's something important to like notice, right? So if you Cascade, or you Discover, or Flashback, or Harmonize, which is another new mechanic, or Delve, you're casting spells. And so if you delve a card and then Cascade into something and you've cast 3 spells and your hand was empty, you now get to draw 3 cards. You can discard your hand if it has no cards. I'm going to put this, I think this could be a fun commander. I really do think this could be a fun commander. I feel like there are going to be ways to build this that are obviously just like a wheels deck or just a really like combo-y deck where you're just cycling through. But I think if you're building it with Harmonize or casting stuff from anywhere other than your hand, like a theme like that, this could be a cool commander. But I think it'll really depend on the build. Next up is Nerev Crackling Vanguard. It's a 5-mana 4/4 legendary creature spirit dragon. It has flying and death touch. Whenever they enter, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Whenever this creature attacks, exile a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of differently named tokens you control. During any turn you attack with a commander, you may play those cards. So this is actually pretty slick. So it makes goblins, so I was like, ooh, maybe Mardu goblins, but I think there's a Zergo on this list that I'd rather build that for, which I'm actually also working on. So it cares about differently named tokens, which I really like in Mardu, because we haven't seen that before. It kind of reminds me of the, I don't remember the name of it, but Gimbal, the teamer commander from like March of the Machines. It was a teamer commander that cared about differently named artifact tokens. So I like that this is just, well, it's any token, but you have creatures that make, there's the red one, I don't remember its name, let me know in the comments, that makes rocks, like landfall make rocks. You have Thraben Inspector and Novice Inspector to make clues. You have spirit tokens. You have Eldrazi Spawn. You have Eldrazi Scions. You have the Incubator. Urza's like the constructs. Like there's so many cool like things you can do with this. And I like that when you exile cards, they're not gone forever. It's impulse, but you have to attack with your commander, which, you know, it is a 5-mana commander in Mardu, and flying and death touch are like pretty scary. But I like that they're not just technically gone forever. People will have to remove your commander multiple times in order to be like a real issue. It's like, but I think that's okay. And I think this is definitely a card I'm throwing into the fun camp for sure. It's not quite in wanna build, but it's definitely like on the top end of fun. I'm excited to see what people do with this. Now next up is Nerev Heart of the Storm. It's a 4-mana 4/5 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying. If a creature you control that entered this turn would deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. Now this is another commander I was thinking about for goblins. Now you might be thinking, why would I want to play this in a goblins deck? Well, giving goblins haste isn't that hard. It doesn't care if it's a token that entered, or if it's a goblin that deals damage when other goblins enter. So there's a lot of these, but there's the one from Jumpstart 2020, like their most recent Jumpstart, that when a goblin enters, they deal a damage. They deal 2 damage. So if you have Kranko out and you play that and then tap Kranko, you get a whole bunch of goblins doing a whole bunch of damage. If you play a Siege Gang commander and then start sacrificing goblins, if you just attack with a bunch of hasty goblins, like I think this could be a really cool either goblins deck, or if you really want to get niche, doing a like lightning skelemental, ball lightning, and there's the other one. There's like a 1-mana one. I don't remember what it's called. It's like a 1-mana 3/1 with trample haste, sack it at the end of the turn. And if you can play cheap recursion in black like Chtholian Nightmare, I can't say that card. It's the new Nightmare from MH3 from last year, and you can recur these cheap trample creatures that they have enter, they have haste and trample, and you can just swing in with those a bunch. I think that's really fun. Creatures like Dash. There's a backup commander that you can use to like sacrifice a creature or broadside bombardiers. There are a lot of really good cards that go with this. This is, I think, easily in the top end of fun. It's pretty close to wanna build. I think it just gets the gears going, like the brewing juice is flowing, where you're like, ooh, what can I do with this to make this really neat? And I think having either powerful ETBs or just like big trampoly dumb idiots that you don't care if you get rid of them, I think it's cool. Next up is Sarkhan Dragon Ascendant. It's a 2-mana 2/2 legendary creature human druid. When Sarkhan enters, you may behold a dragon. If you do, create a treasure token. So to behold a dragon, you either choose a dragon you control or reveal a dragon card from your hand. Notably, a dragon card can be like an instant or sorcery, because there are some that have the kindred type line and they're shapeshifters, so they have like changeling, instant, and sorceries. So it doesn't have to just be a dragon creature. Just something to keep in mind. I don't know how often that will come up, or if you can reveal a changeling also from your hand. Whenever a dragon you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarkhan. Until end of turn, Sarkhan becomes a dragon in addition to its other types and gains flying. So this isn't a once per turn. Like if you can get a bunch of dragons in play all at once, you can put more counters on Sarkhan. It just keeps becoming a dragon and gains flying. I think this is a fine card. I think it's a role player in dragon decks, and I definitely going to put this in the 99. I don't know if I would play this as a dragon commander. I think you want more colors in mono red. And even if you did want mono red, I think there are better mono red Sarkhans and mono red dragon commanders in this. But it's a solid role player in a deck like that. Next up is Shiko and Narset Unified. It is a 4-mana, 4/4 legendary creature human spirit dragon with flying and vigilance, and it is Flurry. Flurry is a new keyword, so it's whenever you cast your second spell each turn, do X. So it has Flurry. Copy that spell if it targets a permanent or player, and you may choose new targets for the copy. If you don't copy a spell this way, draw a card. So this seems like a solid commander. I think this is I'm going to put this in the could be fun tier. I think Narsets in general can be like busted pretty easily. So if you cast a take an extra turn spell that targets a player, which they have, you can take 2 extra turns. There are draw spells that you can target players with, so you can target yourself to draw extra cards. Or if you want to play a Jeskai Burn deck, where if you lightning bolt someone's face, you can lightning bolt them again and deal 6. I think that is pretty cool. And it doesn't say if it targets exactly one player or permanent. I think if you have spells that say target any number, I still think you get to copy those. So you'd want to look at spells like that. Overall, I think this is a cool commander, and I think there's some fun ways you can build it, but I'm not quite sure yet. But I'm keeping it up there. I'm keeping it in the noggin. Next up is Shiko, Paragon of the Way. It is a 5-mana, 4/5 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying and vigilance. When they enter, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So this is a one-time effect. It's only when it enters, but you're in Jeskai, so you have plenty of ways to blink your commander. I like that it's non-land with mana value 3 or less, so it's a little bit harder to break. Like you're not going to get just extra turns from it. I'm trying to think where I'd want to play this. I don't know if I'd want this as a commander. I think in a blink deck, it could be really good, or just in a dragons deck, either getting a ramp spell out or like a good mana rock, or like an Urza's Incubator, I think is like 3 mana, so you can get like a ramp spell or like a cost reduction artifact back. I think this is a card. I'm going to put this in the tail end of could be fun. I'm leaning more into the fun in the 99, but I'm happy to be wrong on that. I just don't see, this one just doesn't intrigue me quite as much as a commander. But that's just like me personally. Next up is the TDC Region of the Mire. This is a 2-mana, 1/3 legendary creature zombie snake warlock. Has a lot of creature types. You can tap, sacrifice a creature you control with mana value X other than Sidisi. Return target creature card with mana value X+1 from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So it's a birthing pod for your graveyard, is essentially what this is. It is sorcery speed, but there's no mana cost associated with this, which is really good, right? Because there might be ways, I don't run mono black, but maybe with like an artifact creatures, or if you have ways of turning Sidisi into an artifact and then untapping artifacts, there might be some chain you can do to like combo win with this. But I like it in the 99. I think this is actually just a fun commander. I like this. It's cheap, and there's like, it gets like the brewing going, right? You're like, ooh, what can I do with this? How can I break this? I think this is easily a fun commander. It maybe could be in the fun tier, but like could be fun tier. But I like this card. It's just, it's getting me thinking. So I'm going to put this in the fun tier for sure. Next up is Surok, Elusive Hunter. This is a 3-mana, 4/3 legendary creature human warrior. This spell can't be countered. It has trample. And whenever a creature you control or a creature spell you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, draw a card. So you cannot really play this in Commander if anyone at the table has Orcish Bowmasters. Because what's going to happen is you play this, the Orcish Bowmasters, targeting Surok. this draw trigger is not a May, so they just have you draw your entire deck and then kill you, and you just draw and lose. So if you have Orcish Bowmasters in your play group, maybe avoid this. Otherwise, I think this is a card that's like fun in the 99. I wouldn't play this I wouldn't play this as a commander. It is like a fixed Nadu, but it's spells that your opponents control, not you, so you can't do the Shuko stuff, thank God. I think it's a cool protection spell, but again, like Orcish Bowmasters just kind of kills you, so something just to be wary of. Next up is Taigam Master Opportunist. It's a 2-mana 2/2 human monk that has Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, then exile the spell you cast with 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So this seems really powerful, and I like that you still have to cast the spell. So you copy it, then you exile the spell you actually cast with 4 time counters on it. So I believe the spell doesn't end up actually resolving, right? So let's say you opt. The first opt is exiled on the stack, and then the copy opt would resolve, which is why it does it that way, so you still get your spell, but the original ends up in exile with time counters, and then with Suspend, and then once it comes off Suspend, you can cast it again. This seems really powerful. There are a lot of ways to manipulate Suspend counters, and it's any spell, so it's not just instants and sorceries. So I think this is a card that is going to be really fun in the 99. I'm going to put this actually in could be fun. I think it would be fun in the 99, but I think also depending on how you build it, this could be a fun commander. I do like that there's not a way to super break this like other Suspend. I'm sure there are ways that I'm not thinking of, but there aren't. Like, there are other Suspend counter commanders that you can just put Eldrazi into Suspend, but with this you actually have to cast the spell. Of course, like Omniscience can do some like crazy things, but you're in mono blue, so I think it's a little bit harder to cheat out Omniscience in mono blue. But this could be fun. I think it also is fun in the 99, but I'm going to put it in the could be fun tier. Next up is Tersa Light Shatter. It's a 3-mana 3/3 legendary creature orc wizard with haste. When they enter, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. And when they attack, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, exile a card at random from your graveyard. You may play that card this turn. So this is fine as a mono red commander. Notably, you still have to actually cast the spell, right? Like you can't, or you have to pay the mana cost for it. So if it's a land, you can play the land, which is great. But if you exile a creature or a spell that you can't actually pay for, you just kind of lose it. So I'm not sure. I think this is a card that is more fun in the 99 than I think would be fun as an actual commander. It seems like a good role player if you're playing like a discard deck or casting stuff from exile deck, but I want more colors than just mono red for this. Next up is Tevel, Arbiter of Virtue. This is a 5-mana 6/6 legendary creature spirit dragon that has flying and lifelink. Spells you cast have Delve. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. So when I first saw this, I didn't read that last line of text, and then I read it, and I'm like, oh, this card's still actually just kind of busted. It has lifelink, so you can recoup the life loss from casting Delve spells, or any spells with Delve. Sultai has plenty of cards in those colors that care about casting spells from anywhere other than your hand, and the graveyard is not from your hand, or cards leaving your graveyard. So there's another commander we're getting to, which I think is the next one on the list. If you cast a spell with Delve, technically you get 2 triggers, because the spell going onto the stack is leaving the graveyard, and the spells leaving exile is a separate trigger. So it's really cool. This is a commander I think I'm going to put this in fun. Do I want to build this? I don't know if I want to build this. I'm going to put this in fun, though. There are definitely busted things you can do with this, where you can put a bunch of expensive spells into your yard, self-mill, and then just cast Eldrazi. But you also would end up losing like 13 life. So there is that downside to it, and it's all spells you cast while this is out, right? It's not just Delve spells. So, I mean, in theory, you could take extra turns, but you couldn't take infinite extra turns because you don't have an infinite sized library. So it depends on how much mana you have and whatnot. So yeah, You also need the spell in your hand, right? Because you have to delve cards from your graveyard, and then you have to get it back. So yeah, I think this is a fun commander. Next up is Tevel the Balanced Scale. It's a 4-mana, 4/4 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying. When they attack, you mill 3 cards. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. So, for those of you who don't follow the channel, maybe you're new, I have a Tormod and Kamal deck. Well, I used to. I took it apart actually recently. I do have a video on this partner pair on the channel. I'll have a link to it in the video description, maybe a card on screen. But the entire idea was Golgari, and you just move cards in and out of your graveyard. So you have Gravecrawler loops, not infinite loops, but you could like loop Gravecrawler, Scavenging Ooze, Life from the Loam, which is in this recon, by the way, Life from the Loam and Gravecrawler. The issue I had with Tormod was it made tapped 2/2 zombies. This makes untapped 2/2 black zombies, and they're druids, which with cards like, there's an elf druid, it's 5-mana Glintleaf something. I wish I remembered the name. You can tap like, I think it's 7 druids you control and then steal someone's lands. So that's funny. You have an extra color, you're in Sultai. There are plenty of ways in Sultai to move cards in and out of your graveyard. You have Flashback. We've gone over it. It's Flashback, Delve, Harmonize, Dredge, just Gravecrawler shenanigans, Reanimate spells. This card is going into Wanna Build, 100%. I just finished up a deck list for this commander, which you can find if you join my Discord server, also linked in the video description below. But I'm going to be doing a video and an article on this commander. This is just really cool. I love this. I love this card so much. Next up is Urani of the Unwritten. It is a 7-mana, 7/7 legendary creature spirit dragon with flying and trample. Whenever they enter or attack, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you want to play Teamer Dragons, this is probably a great option. The original one, what I would suggest, which I'm also blanking on the name on, from Commanders for Baldur's Gate Commander set, Miriam Sentinel Worm. That card's now like $10, and it was like $1.50 for a long time. So this is in a precon, which means you can pick this up, and a bunch of other good dragons. I think this is a fun commander. I'm not going to rush out and build this personally. I'm not a huge fan of dragon commanders, or like dragon decks, not dragon commanders. But this is a super powerful effect, especially for 7 mana, where you can potentially double your mana value worth of spells, because you just got to put a dragon into play. Teamer has plenty of ways of giving haste, so you can easily play this and attack on the same turn to get 2 dragons into play. It's cheating on mana, which is really good, and you're in Teamer, so you can ramp super hard. This is like definitely seems like a fun commander. Next up is Urani the Song Unending. It is an 8-mana 10/10 spirit dragon, has flying, protection from white and black, and when it enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. What an interesting commander. I like that it has pro white and black, kind of like Animar. It is 8 mana and you can only hit creatures, and it has to be creatures your opponents control. So you can't hit a Stuffy Doll or a Thrash Taunter on your side of the board. And it only has fly, no trample, no other forms of evasion. I say no protection, but pro white and black is really good because a lot of targeted removal are those colors. I mean, you obviously have like Frogify and Pongify in blue, Beast Within in green, but a lot of like targeted removal, Swords, Path, Anguish Unmaking, Victimize, Feed the Swarm, you know, all these are black or white. But I think this is a commander. I think it's not fun. I think it's a 99 commander though, or 99 card for sure. I think you play this as a top end in a lands deck. I don't think you want to play this as a lands commander. Wait, you're gonna blink it and just like blow up creatures, which is fine if you have a lot of lands. But for 8 mana, I think I'd rather just play Avenger of Zendikar and like win. I don't know. I don't see the point. Is it not? No, it's not fun because this is a fun thing to do. But I think it's definitely a 99 commander or a 99 card. Next up is Zurgo Stormrender. It's a 3-mana 3/3 legendary creature orc warrior that is mobilize 1. So mobilize is When this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So it's mobilize N, and then N is the number of 1/1s you make. Whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is where I'm building Mardu Goblins. So this is going directly into wanna build. Right at the top there. So my friend Wes has a Mardu Goblins deck with the original Zurgo, like old Zurgo, not Dash. I think it's the other one. Helm Smasher, is that the Dash one? Anyways, he has a Mardu Goblins deck, and it's actually pretty sick. But having this is a huge upgrade in the command zone because you can attack with all your Goblin tokens, and then you can sacrifice them at instant speed with like Goblin Bombardment, or like a Goblin effect like Skirt Prospector to draw a bunch of cards. So you get to refill your hand in a deck that notoriously doesn't have a lot of hand size. Otherwise, you can just Goblin Bombardment and then ping the opponents down. And it is life loss, so you can't give this lifelink or infect or anything to like cheat damage. But life loss is also good because it gets around protection, I think. Yes, life loss gets around protection, damage doesn't. I'm pretty sure. Like Teferi's protection. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's right. This is a solid card, and it's only 3 mana, which is really good for this effect, especially in Mardu colors, where your decks are probably going to be a little bit lower to the ground. This is also great in the 99 of like an Ishin deck that cares about combat triggers, or like attacking triggers, and it's a warrior, which is great in Najeela. Next up is Zurgo Thunder's Decree. It's a 3 mana 2/4 orc warrior with mobilize 2. During your end step, warrior tokens you control have this token can't be sacrificed. So I like that it's only during your end step, so you get to keep your mobilized creatures. I think this could be a fun commander. Actually, I think this is just a fun commander. Let's just be real, this is just fun. I'm gonna put it like, I think in the top end of fun here, in the top 3 for sure. I like that you can try to build like a mobilized deck with this, with the Zurgo from before, all the new mobilized cards. If there are other effects that make temporary warriors, they don't sacrifice, like you can't sacrifice them at the end step. So unfortunately with like, if you give warrior tokens decayed somehow, I mean there's a card in the set that can do that, that's at the end of combat, so this only triggers on your end step. So that's something to keep in mind. But I think that's a fun build around. Like how many different warrior creature tokens can you make? If you make token copies with like Kiki Jiki, the Mirror Breaker, or reflections of Kiki Jiki, or any of those red clone effects, Flame Rush Rider, I think it's Flame Rush Rider. If those are warrior tokens, you don't have to sacrifice those at the end of combat. So you can put like Jolly Balloon Man and make a 1/1 copy of a warrior, and at the end step, if you would sacrifice it, you don't have to. Now, if a card says exile a token, you still have to do that, so those cards might say exile, you have to check, but in red, it's good at making temporary copies of cards, and so long as those cards are warriors, you get to keep them. And that wraps up my Tarkir Dragonstorm fun ranking. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you want more videos like this, like and subscribe. I also have a link to the tier list in the video description below, in case you want to rank them yourself. Alrighty nerds, I'll see you in the next one.